Hello everyone, and welcome to the Mead Hall. I am your host for today, Joe.
And I'll be Jay.
And I'll be Al.
And I'll be John.
And today, court is in session as we try and justify the crimes of 40k's worst characters, and I will be playing the part of Judge Jonson, as in Lionel Johnson.
King!
So, who are we going with first? Our first defence lawyer to step up to the stand and face my judgment will be John. And would you like to tell everyone who you are defending today?
Of course, my honourable client today to be presented and defended for the accusations made against them is none other than Erebus.
Ooh.
Of the word bearers.
I think I'm going to think.
Someone who has received some slanderous claims against them, and I am here to defend their honour today. For you see, honourable court and judge, that we must first consider the worship of chaos powers. Erebus accused of these things. Does he deny it? No. Why should he? For this is where the issue all stems from. There are hundreds, thousands, millions of chaos worshippers out there in the 41st millennium. Those worshippers do not stand here today on trial. Only my client stands here today on trial. So we must surmise that Erebus's particular form of worship, it can be enough to condemn him for that worship. They all do that, and maybe worse. Yeah? You might even argue that he has done more to further this cause than any other. Yeah? This might be true. But could he be blamed for being good at his job of worship? Yeah? Is Grebo, the crab-faced cultist, really less worthy of being on this trial just because he lacks the capabilities, the capacities of the noble paragon that I defend? Now,
Order in court,
there are certain things that he has been accused of truly having a hand in. And I say that these actions, whilst they happened, were through no fault of him. We first turn our attention to the interactions between Horus and the Interrex, an event that led to Horus's betrayal and fall. Now, the question I ask the judge and the court is, what was Horus meant to be doing when he was interacting with that Xenos race? Was he there to seek diplomacy? Is that an action that the Emperor would have encouraged? Diplomacy between Xenos? No. And that was what he sought. Horus sought this. So, what did the noble Erebus do? Well, he took what was rightfully belonged to the Imperium, and as a result of that, Horus saw what those Xenos were. Savages, of course. He just, took charge, took command, took initiative, one might say. Now, there has been some claims made on my client and the issues that have been faced in terms of some charges of, one might say, homicide. Now, to address these particular claims, I think we need to really dig down into some of the two that were particularly raised at my client. So, first of all, his accusation, this claim, and my client will not deny it, that he did in fact kill Al-Jal Tal. But I would argue that this was a fate that had already happened. This was predestined. This was meant to happen. You cannot deny destiny. No more than you would deny that Sanguinius and Conrad Kurz, both blessed with the gift of foresight, could not deny their actions, for they had already foreseen them. These were predestined events. You could not stop it from happening. And think, the court, that had he not taken that action, would Khan have not taken the actions that he then took, which led to the successes as a result? It was a necessary action in a war. Which leads me nicely on to the point of the Istvan 3. You know, he was part of the group that organised that. But he was a soldier, an advisor. His Primarch, he merely offered advice. That was all he did. You cannot blame him for that. And there is an accusation made against him. A claim that stems back to his childhood, his upbringing. That of taking the identity of the original Erebus. And I would argue that he has not besmirched that name, he has not used it for anything. Yeah? Truly, he has not taken that name in vain. He has taken the name and risen it above what would have been his own. He has elevated that person to a greater height than they could have ever possibly achieved in their life. And my closing statement in argument of defence is one from the man himself. A defence of Erebus from himself. For he says, for all of this I am hated. For being there at the outset, for laying the foundations that others would willingly build on. I think they wish to find something in the story that explains things, some moment of decision, some choice that could later be regretted or accounted for. But as I said, none exists. I have always been on the road, never turning, never deviating. A long time ago, aware of my limitations, I formulated an expression to capture my condition. Blessed is the mind too small to doubt. My client never doubted his path. He was set. You would almost... I would not even argue it. I would say it with utmost confidence. And as a point of truth, Erebus, my client, is not a traitor. Because to be a traitor is to turn against a thing that you believed in. If you never believed in that thing in the first place, can you be a traitor of it? That is what I ask you all. Could you consider yourself to be a traitor if you never believed in the first place? He did not turn like Horus did. Horus was on the path of being the War Master, and yet he turned. The other traitor legions, they are called those legions of traitors because they all turned. Did my client turn? No. He saw the path that he was on, and he took it. Thank you, Anna.
Very nice. Very nice. Well done, John.
I feel like I want to be part of the prosecution.
Other members of the
I
jury.
feel like I've been brainwashed into believing that.
Yeah, it's
Because
funny, that.
the entire time I was just like, oh, I just cannot take my eyes off you.
That is because he is an innocent man.
Job.
John, you've said your piece.
Can I just point out that I think there are some like chaos runes appearing on his head?
On the makeup's going.
So,
This is why we need wigs.
what do we think? What's our initial thoughts? I will take your opinions, and then I will form my ultimate judgment.
Yeah, I think that defence, although well presented, was a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
He's not on trial for being a traitor. He's on trial for being a megalomaniac who caused 10,000 years of pain and misery.
You've said your piece, John. You've had your defence.
May I make one small objection, Your Honour?
I'll allow it.
Had it not been for Erebus's actions, would we have the 40k setting?
Damn, that's a good answer. Nope, still not convinced.
Okay.
He's been directly responsible for the deaths of some characters I'm very bitter about. Spoilers.
Even though the entire time I was like enthralled, it definitely was because of your delivery and not the content. I refuse to believe that he's an innocent man just because, like, you enforce it, and I feel like that's a really big point on the entire thing. But anyway, yeah, I'm not convinced that he's innocent in any shape or form.
Okay. John, I've heard what you had to say. I've heard the opinions of my jury. And while you made some compelling arguments, and they were compelling and well presented, and mostly based in fact.
Entirely based in fact.
I will say that some of the arguments made danced around several points.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Danced around several atrocities. And that ultimately, while being a traitor was part of what your client was on trial for, it was not the entire thing that your client was accused of, and therefore, unfortunately, I still have to say that Erebus is in fact guilty.
Get him next time. Get him next time.
Well, I do have to say a very, very big congratulations, John. You did a fantastic effort there.
I have to follow
That was excellent.
now.
How was I going to defend him?
How? You did as best as you could.
I think it was a foregone conclusion that he was going away. But
Can I just say something, right? Both me and Judge Jonson have acting degrees, and never have I seen that kind of... That was, like... The performance was incredible. I feel like I should give you my degree now, after that. I feel like we are not worthy. I am not worthy.
I'd like to say as well, you brought up atrocities that I didn't know about and then justified them to a level where my brain was going, yeah.
I didn't even know he did that. Yeah, that seems reasonable. Yes, so never have I, in a discovery period, found worse than I knew before I started discovery.
After the wonderful defence of Erebus, who was ultimately found guilty, we move on to our next client in the court. And believe it is Elle presenting...
That is my name, yes.
presenting the defence of Fabius Bile, Fabulous Bill.
Fabulous Bill, my lovely client.
Will we be swayed? Or will we still think that he is a terrible, terrible, terrible person?
Well, I wouldn't like to comment on my client's deposition before I've started my defence. So.
Wonderful. The court is in session. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Judge, and thank you, jury, for attending today. Before I turn your attention to my client, I'd like to ask you all a question. Is there really any limit to what you can do in science? Is having a moral conscience really beneficial? Fabius Bile, my client, is a genius. There is no denying that. Even you, judge and jury, can admit that freely. He started as a Marine in the Emperor's Children, born on Terra, with an open mind. A young man whose interests in science caused him to become curious about how the body and the mind works. When he and his brothers contracted an illness, he took it upon himself to come up and try to find a cure. His heroic and willing determination turned his desperation into power. Begrudgingly, he began to test for it, even using himself as a guinea pig. He strived to ensure he and his brothers survived. Fabius is a man who strives for perfection. Fabius is also one of, if not the last follower of the imperial truth. He is loyal and dedicated. His point that the emperor would not want to become a god or be worshipped shows that he is wise. He unwittingly seeks perfection for mankind, yet the excessive extent that he goes through by causing untold death and suffering is obviously caused him being corrupted by Slanesh. The effect it already had on his tarnished mind caused him, despite his better nature, to pursue what some might call an evil path. As Fabius was taken from his family at such a young age, as most Marines know, he never felt real connection. He treats his subjects with respect, and he never forgets why he is doing his work. As Fabius's defendant, I know that he is doing necessary evil for the good end result. He is a man who thinks for himself. He is not tied down, not to be ruled by emotion or gods of any kind. Fabius became a father of his own when he created his own race of men. He gave them the traits they needed to survive in such a violent universe. Doesn't this show, Judge, that he is just a better god than the gods and the corpse emperor combined? He makes sure his men are safe, that they are fed, and leaves them to their own devices. He does what a good god should do. Bile does not derive pleasure from his experiments. We wouldn't have holy warriors of the Noise Marines without him. He is a hero in his own right. His scientific genius knows no boundaries, and that is something that should be rewarded, not punished. So, my closing statement to the jury is this. In a galaxy defined by scientific stagnation and brutal theocratic rule, Fabius Bile is one of the only true champions of scientific advancement left. Thank you, Your Honour.
Thank you. A compelling defence. Members of the jury, what do we think?
Well, I can't deny the passion.
No, and
Some interesting points raised.
yeah, I would struggle to. Yeah, that's no.
It's somehow managed to find ways of presenting a reasonable argument.
I feel like it sketched over some of the other things that have been done, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Some
Selling people off to Drukari, things like that.
Yeah, or, his own Primarch.
All that. Well, is the argument that he is a better god, not counter to not believing in the gods?
I've said everything I'd like to say. Thank you.
Chink in the armour.
Okay. Right. I have my verdict. In the case of Fabius Bile, or Fabulous Bill, I have taken into account the words from yourself and the opinions of my esteemed jury members. Despite a small factor being glossed over and a small inconsistency pointed out by John, I have to say that argument was quite compelling, and Fabius Bile is in fact just a champion of science and is not guilty
You were saying you could do that. That is a very good, compelling argument to it.
So good.
I wasn't expecting that.
No.
Do you know what? I disagree with every single one.
I was like, yeah. I can get this. I can get on with this fabulous man. I'm like, yeah.
I do not believe one single word in that entire pitch. So, but there we are.
I do now. I'm like,
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I am a little bit
He's
confused.
got some good ideas rocking around there.
Right, guys, should we do an Emperor's Children, aren't we?
Yeah.
I did say I had an idea for one.
I've always wanted to do that.
Oh, you're turning into us.
Right. After a very compelling and successful argument in favour of Fabius Bile, we will move on to our final defendant here in the courtroom with us, Jamie. You will be defending...
Thank you very much, Judge. I will be defending the most honourable Horus Lupercal,
the big man himself.
the big man himself. Very
Horus, second named Heresy.
Now, shall I start by pointing out that what we have done here today is that we have brought not just a man to court, not a god, not a prince, not a warlord. We have brought a hero into this courtroom and accused him of acts beyond belief. And I agree, they are tragic and horrible, but they were not committed by our hero, Horus Lupercal. So let's first address the man that we have accused, shall we? We have to remember that Horus Lupercal was the first Primarch to join his father in the Great Crusade. The first of the great Primarchs to lead legions in defence of humanity and scour the skies above terror, to take war to the Xenos and unite our people in one glorious empire. But more than this, he was not just the first. He was also one of the, if not the greatest generals of this era. Horus Lupercal was famous for victory after victory after victory in the name of humanity. Not just the Emperor, not just terror, but humanity itself. He was up there in the front, leading by example. His own troops believed him to be a father figure. Not just told that, they believed it. He was their father. But he also had brothers and a father himself. And he was the most loyal son to his father. Fought side by side with the Emperor more than any other Primarch. He was there from the beginning. One might argue he was there at the end as well. And not the end you're thinking. I can assure you of that. As a brother, Horus was known by all of his brothers as the one they could depend on, the one they could trust. Even the likes of Angron had respect, to a degree, with Horus. Mortarion, Berus, Manus, Vulcan, Sanguinius, Magnus, Jagatai even Russ fought and believed him as an honourable brother. And this is why he was chosen as the War Master. He was given the mantle of War Master by the Emperor with support from probably all of his brothers, if not all of them. Yes, some of them might have thought they might have been better at it, but that's simple brotherly arrogance and jealousy. But they all knew he was the right man for the job. That's our hero. The man we have brought before you all today. Now, you might believe that I'm skipping over what we're accusing him of, and I'm not. I'm going to get to that. Okay? I just want you to understand who we're dealing with here. the hero, not the monster. See, the mantle of War Master is where things started to go wrong for Horus and for the Imperium in general. We can all agree on that. Yes? Mm. But it wasn't Horus that is to blame for these things. In fact, one of those people has already been in this court today. For I must put forth to you the face of corruption itself, Erebus, who manipulated a good, honourable man, using the powers beyond reckoning to corrupt the hero of humanity itself into becoming something he was never meant to be. The clear point here is it was corruption. It changed Horus. This wasn't Horus Lupercal anymore. It was only the War Master. They are two different people, and you are trying to accuse a good man. Because of the likes of Erebus, of all creatures. A man we've already seen has been judged guilty of his crimes. But don't worry, Erebus isn't the only one to blame. No, of course not. There is also the temptations of chaos itself. The dark gods, who actually performed the corruptions and forced Horus down a path that he was never intended for. He was not a willing subject. He was tricked and forced into them and became part of them. They sunk their teeth into him and joined with him to create a monster. And I agree with you, he was a monster when they were part of him. But he never wanted to be that. He is not at fault. He is a victim of the Chaos powers and Erebus. But, despite all of this, we are missing... Who is the true traitor here? Who is the true traitor? Is it Erebus? No. Is it our hero, Lupercal? No. The true traitor is the Emperor himself. The Emperor, the one who betrayed his sons, forced them to fight his war without him, without giving them any warning or justification for his abandonment of his so-called sons, who he has now recently revealed he never even really thought of as sons, just weapons of war. Do you blame a man to want to fight against the tyranny of a corpse emperor? A man who betrayed them all and probably intended to kill them all in the end anyway. The emperor isn't a god. He's not even a good man. He's betrayed us all. And Horus could have been the one to save us from the tyranny of an emperor who doesn't actually care about any of us anyway. He just wanted to become a god himself. You can't tell me a man wandering around in golden armour with a halo above his head is not pretending to be a god. Surely that's a contradiction in and of itself. Running around with a burning sword, blasting people and creatures apart with his mind. No god. Fake god, maybe. So it was inevitable. The Emperor betrayed them all, and Horus tried to protect us. Even corrupted, even with the things that were going through his mind, his goal wasn't to destroy everything. His goal was to remove the Emperor from power. That's why he went to Terra, to remove a tyrant. Even corrupted, he was still thinking about humanity. And yeah, atrocities were caused. But as we've already established, that wasn't his doing. That was the corruption of chaos. The influence of the vile wretch Erebus. And yet he almost succeeded in saving us from a true tyrant, a true villain, a true monster. So I put it forth to you to remember that he was there at the beginning. Remember his undying loyalty, his charisma, the ability to see through the lies of the Emperor. The fact that he was tragically manipulated by powers beyond even the Emperor himself. Of course he couldn't withstand them. But his cause was unjust in the end. His end goal was righteous, and he sought redemption for the stuff that the Chaos Gods caused him. So I put it to you, as my final moment or statement, to not remember the War Master, but remember the Lupercal. Remember the hero of terror. That will be all.
Thank you for your defence. Compelling and well-presented defence. It was.
Well, I was completely and utterly on, nope, he's guilty, and then you just had to throw the Emperor in there, and I was like, oh. So now I'm torn now. I'm torn between the fact that he's the person, the thing, the monster, whatever you want to refer to him as. He is the one that nearly destroyed literally everything. But then
Saved.
he's also the thing, the person, the man, or whatever that, you know, was trying to do something. I don't want to say good. I don't want to say it.
I just feel maybe the actions that were taken, I would be curious to see where the actions on Istvan were encompassed in trying to save humanity.
By eliminating the lackeys of a traitorous emperor. How do you win a war? He's a soldier, he's a military general. Of course you're going to take every advantage you can, and he defeated an enemy force.
And his own troops that were on the ground.
Yeah.
Well, they were also traitors to the cause of saving humanity.
The ones that looked up to him as a father figure.
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes hard things have to happen in order to attain victory.
I feel like there's probably an easier conversation than, you know, you can probably talk. You know, if you were
Coming from the man who defended Erebus, how would you speak?
very well.
I have made my decision. The side that I am going on with is that Horus is... I believe he is guilty, because I do not believe that any kind of level of manipulation or corruption could really take you that far away from your true self and cause you to commit genocide. Thank you, Judge.
So what you're saying is then the Emperor is also guilty.
You have made your defence. That is the jury's opinion.
You know,
John?
would just say that if the argument is he was trying to do good, he did a lot of bad in the process of that.
Hmm.
You know, it can't be both ways. It can't be that he was entirely corrupted and innocent because of that corruption, whilst also saying that he had the faculties to be able to perform the actions that he took.
I have made my verdict. In the case of Horus Lupercal or the War Master, as you claim they are two different people,
Not what they are to do.
I have taken into account your defence. I have taken into account the opinions of my esteemed jury. And I would like to put it to you that a large part of your argument hinges on the corruption of chaos. And I would like to bring to your attention that driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs is still a crime. And for that reason...
Yeah, but you choose to drink.
Shut
And
up!
for that reason...
You didn't choose to drink the alcohol. He
For
didn't
that
choose
reason,
to drink the alcohol.
as well as the reasons given to me by my jury, I find Horus guilty.
But I never sought defence.
I mean, you never stood a chance, but you...
I don't know. Your defence did stand a chance.
It was really good.
It would have if it wasn't Erebus.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it were literally anybody else, I think that would have.
I fear that it has been unfair, and my court is and my jury is biased. I'd like to see a new jury, one that does not have prior relationships with my client.
I don't think you can find anyone in the galaxy that hasn't.
Thank you all for coming to court today. That has been Judge Jonson. We hope you all enjoyed, and we'll see you next time in the Mead Hall. I have been the host, Joe.
And I've been Jay.
I've been Al.
I've been John.
We hope you all enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, comment your own opinions on whether you agreed, whether you disagreed. And we will see you next time in the Mead Hall. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.